Hey guys, welcome to another episode of About Ukraine, and here we are in Хрещатик, Майдан Незалежності. It's a central square here in Kyiv, Ukraine, and this episode's topic is going to be about how is the war or the upcoming invasion affecting Ukraine. We're going to talk about things like economy. We're going to talk about things like real estate prices, investment, inflation. We're going to figure out if Ukraine is a safe place. Is it a safe place to be in right now? The thing is, over the past week, there's been a constant barrage of information asking foreigners who are living in Ukraine or temporarily here or traveling to just pack up the bags and leave Ukraine. You have 48 hours or 24 hours before tanks start rolling in and missiles start falling on the ground. And that's what we've been hearing. That's been the rhetoric here. Coming in from all the embassies in US, Australia, Canada, UK. By staying in Ukraine, according to the embassies, according to the Western media, you're going to be subjecting yourself to constant barrage of attacks, perhaps protests, disruptions in electricity, communications. You're going to see disruptions of transportation. You're going to see possibly combat. You're going to see war essentially happening in urban areas. But is all of this true? That's what we're going to find out here in this video. So after all these predictions that Russia is going to invade either on the 16th of February or the 20th of February or whatever, the danger is only increasing and uncertainty is only increasing. So it seems like there's no end in sight. But in this video, we're going to get to the bottom of what's actually happening and whether Ukrainians or you, if you're coming to Ukraine, you should be worried or not. So in terms of day-to-day life, things haven't really changed. There's no martial law or state of emergency being announced here. Also, no mass mobilization happening. There are some territorial defenses groups are essentially getting collected and getting established, but that's the extent of it. There's no panic buying going on. People are just doing what they're doing. They're essentially moving on with their lives without any interruptions. What about things like the economy? Well, in Ukraine, we all know that the economic situation is not the best. It hasn't really been ever since independence, really, for 30 years. And according to Heritage's 2022 Index of Economic Freedom, Ukraine is classified as mostly unfree in terms of the economy. And it's no surprise there because few property rights, there's little property rights. There is not a lot of trust in government integrity. There's not a lot of trust in the judiciary or the court system. People don't really believe that they're going to get a fair trial here. The things that should be low are high, there's a high tax burden. There's a lot of government spending. I mean, there's way too much government spending. Over 45% of the GDP is basically government spending. It's a big number, and it shouldn't be this high. And also, some things are good, for example, the fiscal health and the monetary policy is relatively good and relatively stable. Some of things are bad, and they've always been bad, the investment climate is really bad. People aren't really investing money in Ukraine. Capital markets is not existent, and the purchasing power is pretty low. People aren't buying what they could be buying. So basically, there's a lot of room for improvement. And like I said, this hasn't really changed. It's been this case for the last 10 years, 30 years in Ukraine, and the war isn't really changing any of that either. And anyway, we're going to talk a little bit about whether the war, the upcoming invasion, is having an effect on real estate prices here in Ukraine. I personally don't think it is having an effect at all. Last year, in 2021, we've seen a pretty big jump in real estate prices. Real estate prices are skyrocketing all over the world, in Canada, America, Germany. It doesn't really matter where you live. Houses are costing a crazy amount of money. An average house is costing $600,000, maybe in America, maybe in Canada, $1 million. But in Ukraine, that's not the case. But last year, we've had a 15% jump in real estate prices. So basically, $300, $333 per square foot. It went up to $400 per square foot. So, I mean, it's a 15-20% jump. In Ukraine, inflation has been like always this troubling area. Ukraine's currency, the hryvnia, has lost half of its value after the Euromaidan protest. It wreaked havoc on the whole economy, on the markets, and on purchasing power, especially investments. And basically, this was the biggest blow to the economy. And since then, over the last 7 years, essentially, this hasn't been the case. I mean, we are getting like a 10% inflation every year. Prices are going up little by little, but they've been relatively stable in dollar values over the last 7 years. And the uncertainty of war, again, is not really playing a big part in it. It's not really causing any problems for the vast majority of people. In conclusion, I have to say that Ukraine is in the middle of a pretty big battle, and I'm not talking about war and the threat of war and the constant threat of invasion from Russia. I'm not talking about that at all. The biggest problem or fight that Ukraine is facing is this fight to make Ukraine a better country, essentially. People are concerned with things that will make life better for them and their children, things like judicial reform, things like police reform, things like removing corruption, that kind of stuff. The reality is judges are tied to vested interests, to businessmen that want judgment to be in their favor. Government is essentially in every area of businesses, in every area of life, and government involvement, like I said, is about 45% of GDP is government spending, which is essentially very high number for a developing country like Ukraine. And vested interests don't only use the government, they also use media, they use political pressure, they use convoluted laws and tax systems that are in place in Ukraine, that have been created in their favor, to work in their favor. And in the end, Ukraine is fighting to create the environment to facilitate business growth, to facilitate a great life for its citizens. Ukraine is trying to facilitate an environment that is safe, and I don't mean like safe as in not getting mugged in a back alley, sort of safe. What I mean is an environment that is fair, transparent, competitive, effective, efficient, all of that is what Ukraine needs, I believe. And that will allow the people of Ukraine to plan for the future, to be optimistic about it, and to essentially have a good life today and tomorrow. So yeah, I hope this video was informative and you guys learned a little bit more about Ukraine, and you learned about what the situation is doing to people, to the economy, and basically, essentially the real issues that face Ukraine, aside from what we're hearing here in the news. So hope you guys like this video, and until next time, guys. What?